Catalytic converters definitely aren't the most sexy topic, but if you want to remain emissions compliant, they are unfortunately an essential item. We're here with Matt from G-Sport by GESi to talk about aftermarket catalytic converters, what they do, when you might need them, and how you may still end up damaging them if you're not careful with your tune or your usage. So Matt, for a start, most people kind of assume that a factory catalytic converter is robbing power, and yes, at some point that can be the case, particularly once you start trying to add more power. What is the limitation with the factory catalytic converters around power support?
Well, yeah, I mean, you said it yourself, right? Once you start adding power to a vehicle, that catalytic converter may not be able to handle that power, and that's that. So once you exceed that power level, you're going to run into inefficiencies and potentially failures as well.
So essentially, once you start increasing the exhaust gas flow or the mass flow through the exhaust system, at some point that factory catalytic converter is going to become a bottleneck and create exhaust back pressure?
Certainly.
All right, so when we're looking at an aftermarket catalytic converter, what are the options that you're providing for the market, and where do they sort of fit in with aftermarket tuning and performance?
Right, so we offer a full lineup of EPA-compliant catalytic converters, which means we've gone out and we've done the testing to prove that we meet the EPA standards that the EPA looks for.
So these essentially are a legal replacement. If you've got a damaged factory catalytic converter, you can legally fit an exhaust product or exhaust system or one of your catalytic converters and remain emissions compliant?
Yeah, that's correct. So if your factory catalytic converter has failed and it's time to replace it, you need an option, right? And the OEM option may be unattainable, unavailable, or you may need a larger catalytic converter because you've increased the power of your vehicle. So we have a full lineup with various sizes, all EPA compliant, and we have different styles which will suit the OE style of the catalytic converter that came out of it, but they're metallic cores, high horsepower rating, and we can guarantee performance without compromise.
Let's just talk about the construction. And again, we're getting a little down in the weeds here, but
Sure.
At least as I understand it, OE factory catalytic converters use a ceramic matrix that is then plated with the sort of precious metals that actually do the heavy lifting. Yours aren't made in that way. So talk us through the differences.
Yeah, so we have a full stainless steel construction. It's got a higher heat tolerance. The OEMs like to use a ceramic core catalytic converter. Reason being, it's easier to coat and it's cheaper. We go with a metallic core catalytic converter. We have a full stainless steel construction. It's got a much higher heat tolerance and it flows incredibly well.
Okay, so it's important though to know that this doesn't make the catalytic converter, your aftermarket catalytic converter, is not bulletproof, correct? You can still damage it if you don't understand the limitations and what you shouldn't be doing with a catalytic converter on a vehicle.
That's absolutely correct. What I like to say is a catalytic converter does not kill itself. It's typically killed by way of improper tunes or not using the correct size. I mean, if you have a cat that's too small for the power output that you have, then certainly you can prematurely fail that catalytic.
Right, in terms of tuning changes that could damage a catalytic converter, are you able to go into that in a little bit of depth? What are we talking here? Essentially creating too much exhaust gas temperature?
Inefficient tunes such as rich tunes, which a lot of people would refer to as a burble, a pop, or a flame tune, may look cool, might sound cool. I'm guilty of liking those tunes myself, but they're not efficient and ultimately they kill the cat. Reason being, you're burning unburnt fuel in the exhaust of that car, right? So when you've got unburnt fuel collecting inside the body of that catalytic converter, once it gets hot and they get hot, it'll ignite and essentially turn into a bomb. It'll just destroy itself.
Another couple of points I'll add there for motorsport functionality, essentially anything that's creating an ignition cut regularly. So talking here about maybe a launch control strategy, maybe anti-lag, anything that's basically creating explosions in the exhaust system or burning fuel in the exhaust system, that's going to be an instant no-no for your catalytic converter.
I don't want to say an instant no-no, but it's all within moderation. I mean, I'll say I have a Mercedes E550 that twin turbo V8 4.7 liter, and it's got a launch control on it, and I've got cats on it, and I've used it. It hasn't damaged the cats. I use it in moderation. I think it's more so prolonged exposure to high RPM and those what you were saying, the two steps and whatnot is what's going to kill it. I like to say it's almost like a set of tires. In theory, not even in theory, theoretically, you should get 50, 60,000 miles out of a set of tires. But if you're pushing them to the limit, if you're taking it to the track all the time, you're lucky to get a day out of them.
Understandable. That's actually a pretty good analogy there. If people are in the market for a new catalytic converter, where are they best to find your products?
You can go right to our website on gsportbygesi.com. And if you're looking for a system that is complete, if you don't want to weld them in yourself, just Google the year, make, model of your vehicle with GESi downpipe. There are, I want to say, hundreds of exhaust manufacturers that are manufacturing exhaust systems with our catalytic converters.
Okay, great to know. Thanks for your time there, Matt.
I appreciate it.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson.